the airport! Back to the airport! No, I don't you get us back to the airport now!
Please take your assigned seats.
For hours, these stranded passengers could only wait, stuck in their plane at the Ottawa airport.
Oh, keep fighting. Stay seated.
Look at that. Look. Oh, shit.
Canada is one of the most expensive countries to fly in the world. In fact, it may even be the single most expensive aviation market on Earth. Toronto Pearson Airport receives the award of being the most expensive airport in the Western Hemisphere. Only one other airport on planet Earth is more expensive to fly in and out of, and that's Osaka Hanzai Airport in Japan. An airport completely built from scratch on a man-made island dredged from the ocean. An airport that cost $20 billion to build. Yes, this is the single only airport in the world that's more expensive to land a plane in than Toronto Pearson, which is just a flat patch of land in Mississauga. Not only that, but flying through Canadian airspace, even if you're not landing in Canada, is not only expensive but also complex. To fly over the continental US, it'll cost you $60.07 per 100 nautical miles, while in Canada, the cost to fly in our airspace looks like this. Looks confusing? Just like most things in Canada, there's added complexity to mask the insanely high costs. So, in order to make sense of all of this, we'll use an example. A fully loaded Boeing 777 flying through Canada, the most common large aircraft that flies through Canadian airspace. To fly the same 100 nautical miles in Canada would cost $153 US. That's 2.5 times more expensive. So some of the most expensive airports to land in, and for flights not even landing in Canada, it's no wonder traveling in and out of Canada or even within Canada costs so much more than our US counterparts. In this video, we'll try to explain why exactly the fees and costs to fly in Canada are so high. But to get some perspective, we need to compare ourselves to our global counterparts. We're going to compare Toronto Pearson to some of the most busiest airports in the world, processing hundreds of millions of passengers a year. In the aviation world, every airport can only land so many aircraft in a given amount of time. So each plane or flight is determined a certain slot to land in. These are called landing slots. And the more flights there are, that means more competition for a limited number of landing slots, which means the busier the airport, the higher the landing fees. The busiest airport in the world is Hartsfield-Jackson International in Atlanta, Georgia. So, using our previous example of a Boeing 777 with a max landing weight of 524,000 pounds, Hartsfield-Jackson International charges $1.52 US per 1,000 pounds landing, which comes out to $796.48. Landing the exact same plane at Toronto Pearson, the cost will be $17.19 Canadian dollars per 1,000 kilos of plane. However, this is measured on the maximum takeoff weight, which means that we have to take the cost of our 777 at takeoff rather than the time of landing, which counts in thousands of pounds of fuel which was already burnt up during flight. This pushes up our plane's weight to 660,000 pounds. Converting to pounds and US dollars, this means landing our 777 at Toronto Airport would cost over 4,000 US dollars to land the exact same plane. And since we are charged based on the plane's original takeoff weight from its destination, we paid for 136,000 pounds of fuel and extra weight that would have been burned off during flight. Just by a simple change in the definition, that means we would have paid an extra 826 US dollars. There may be differences geographically, both tax-wise, economically, and regulation-wise. like noise laws, carbon taxes, and enhanced security fees, but over 5 times as expensive as the busiest airport on Earth is really hard to justify. In fact, if we continue down the list and compare Toronto Pearson to the top 6 busiest airports in the world, this begins to reveal a lot. To land our same 777 in US dollars measured in pounds at each of these airports, Dubai charges $1,336, Amsterdam Schiphol Airport charges $1,357, Paris de Gaulle charges $1,807, Los Angeles International Airport charges $2,541, Hong Kong International charges $2,919, and one of the most expensive airports in the world, London Heathrow, costs $3,974. All of these airports handle tens of millions of more passengers than Toronto Pearson. However, these are all just numbers and don't really paint a proper picture. These airports are busy, high efficiency, high volume airports, which are designed to handle millions of passengers per week. And with so many flights landing and taking off, it's very easy to spread the cost of the airport and maintenance across many more flights, and thus lower costs for everyone individually. The argument for why Canada's aviation market is so bad is mainly because of our low population and massively large country size. However, even this is just an excuse. Looking at the perfect country to compare ourselves to, Australia has all of the same taxes, fees, and same cost of living of Canada, if not higher. They're so isolated from everywhere else in the world, with flights to the nearest American airport being often 12 plus hours away. You would think that flights here, both domestically and internationally, would be immensely expensive, but they're not. Comparing a domestic flight within Australia to a domestic flight within Canada, a flight from Sydney to Perth would cost about 310 Canadian dollars, while a flight from Vancouver to Toronto would cost $394. This is the cheapest possible price found, with a nearly 10-hour connection in Edmonton. And these are the cheapest flights to be found around all year. So it still costs $84 more for an extra 10 hours of connection time. Now Australia is more isolated and has higher fuel costs, higher taxes, a smaller population, and fewer large cities spread across the country. Their airports actually handle less international and domestic customers than Canadian airports. Obviously, the aviation market is a wide, vast, and complex industry with a vast number of reasons why tickets may cost more now or later or on different airlines. But in Canada, at the end of the day, all of these complex interactions result in one thing: the price the consumer pays. In the next video, we'll go into exactly how these factor in to higher ticket prices for Canadians.